Today's assignment is coming from the book of Numbers. Numbers chapter 13. And I'll be reading verses 26 to 33. So my assignment this morning is coming from Numbers 13, 26 to 33. And I'll be reading, which is interesting. I really don't do this version, but I'm reading from the New King James Version. And the reason I chose this version, you will see, I will explain it later, but there was a word in here that really struck me, and I that's going to set the tone for today. But Numbers 13, 26, 33, starting with verse 26, it reads, "Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. Then they told him and said, 'We went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit.' Nevertheless," someone say nevertheless. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea along the banks of the Jordan." Then Caleb, someone say, then Caleb. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once and take possession, for we all are well able to overcome it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go against the people, for they are stronger than we." And they gave the children of Israel a bad report. This text is preaching all by itself. Then they gave a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone as spies is the land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers." Someone say grasshoppers. Grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Family, we're going to have some fun with this one. The subject I want to tag to this text is don't be scared. Yeah, don't be scared. Not scared, scurred. Don't be scared. Giants are going to come into your life, but don't be scared. You're going to come across some fortified walls, but don't be scared. You're going to come across opposition, but don't be scared. When I think about don't be scared, one of my favorite movies of all time is Life. Life is one of the top, between that and Harlem Nights, those are like the top two comedic films of all time, in my opinion, but Life. And one of my favorite scenes is the cornbread scene. When the dude wanted to eat Martin cornbread, and Martin was about getting him cornbread, and Murphy said, "No, he get his own cornbread." So then they about to scuffle, and then a dude went to Martin and said, "You were scared, weren't you? Don't be scared. No, don't be scared." And it just made me laugh, because like, wow, when we see something like something that's big, something that's in our way, like a giant that intimidates us, we tend to get scared. But don't be scared. Last week, God used me to preach a word about being locked in our assignment. And I love that, being locked in during moments of distraction and being locked in moments of discouragement, because the enemy cannot stop the assignment God has for you. The enemy cannot stop your anointing, stop your calling, but what the enemy can do is sprinkle a little bit discouragement, sprinkle some distraction in your life so that you cannot be as effective as you could be in your assignment. And so he uses discouragement and distraction as a way to affect our effectiveness, trying to get us to abandon our assignment, trying to get us to leave our assignment unfinished. And leaving work unfinished. That's all he wants you to do. Wipe your hands. And we looked at Nehemiah, how Nehemiah was being intimidated. See, intimidation is just another way to discourage you. Intimidation utilizes lies, threats, blackmail. That's what all last week was about how they tried to intimidate Nehemiah into just saying, "I give up, I'm done," leaving the job unfinished. And God, this morning, God is still tugging on my heart on this topic of intimidation. Because there's people out here that are abandoning their assignment because of intimidation. They are not completing the assignment that God wants them to complete because of intimidation. To intimidate means to frighten or threaten someone, usually in order to persuade them to do something they do not wish to do. So a common example are bullies, school bullies, neighborhood bullies. Bullies use intimidation to fear their victim to doing something that they do not want to do. That's what bullying is all about. Now, I never came across bullying. I never experienced bullying. But the first type of bullying I ever experienced with my own eyes was on TV and one of my favorite movies, Friday. Put Debo on the screen. Debo is the big bully. Debo was the neighborhood bully. For all the kids that's watching, you need to go ahead and watch Friday. Now, it's a funny movie. It's a hilarious movie to me. But Debo, he took people chains, took people money, took people bikes. What bike? Took their bikes. And then when I think about it, how many of us have been Debo'd out of something? Debo'd out of our courage. Debo'd out of our focus. And when we're Debo'd out of our courage, when we're Debo'd out of our focus, we ultimately become Debo'd out of our assignment. Because when you lose the courage to keep on fighting, you're going to walk out on your assignment. And I'm here to tell you, don't be bullied out your assignment. Don't be Debo'd out your assignment. The enemy wants you to quit. You know God is calling you to do something. You know the assignment he has for you. You know what he has told you to do. But the second some intimidation comes in your path, you want to back out. The second something comes that scares you, you want to get scared, but don't be scared. You want your courage back. You want your fight back so you can complete your assignment. And I feel so strongly about this topic of intimidation because I've been saying it all year. I want us to thrive. But in order to thrive, we need to learn how to navigate the waters of intimidation. To navigate the waters of intimidation. While I was preparing for this message, I came across this axiom from this pastor by the name of Dr. Darius Daniel, and he was talking about there's 3 ways to live. And it really hit me, and I was reading more into it, but 3 ways to live: sinking, surviving, or thriving. He says 3 ways to live. Sinking, which he calls is living life the culture's way. Surviving, which he calls living life the church's way. And then thriving is living life the king's way. And he said that's level 3 living life the king's way. And then how many of you want to live life on level 3? How many of us want to thrive? And I just don't want to simply survive. I want to thrive. And in order to thrive, we need to learn how to navigate the waters of intimidation. Because giving into intimidation will have you pull back. And thriving and pulling back are opposite. They cancel each other out, so you can't pull back at the same time you want to thrive. And so intimidation, but here's the thing about intimidation. Intimidation is not always the result of a person's actions. How many of you know that situations have the power to create intimidation? Situations have the power to intimidate someone. Not a bully, not a person, but a situation. And as a human race, the most common situation that intimidates people is public speaking. Yes. That's right. Yes. People fear public speaking. People would rather swim with a shark versus talk in front of a group of people. People would rather swim with Jaws than give a presentation about Jaws. Which is crazy when you think about it. People fear, I like Jaws, but I'm not about to go swim with them. And intimidating situations vary from person to person. What intimidates you don't intimidate me. That's just what it is. Like I went to a show last night, I was just there to support, and I was just looking at the atmosphere. People said, man, do you get, in situations like this, are you intimidated, go up there and tell jokes in front of all these black people? And I said, no, that's cool to me. But that doesn't intimidate me. But what does intimidate me is bodies of water. Like I can swim, but I don't like being in water where I don't know what's in it with me. I don't know what's looking at me like I'm a snack. Literally, I don't know. And so that intimidates me. That don't intimidate some people. Some people, like my friend, he be in the water snorkeling and all that stuff. Come on, Nick. Like, nah, I'm cool. That ain't for me. But all intimidating situations vary from person to person. But all intimidating situations are situations we are not comfortable with. We are not used to. We are unfamiliar. So that means unfamiliar creates intimidation. New creates intimidation. Situation that we are foreign to, strange situations, unknown situations create intimidation because we simply not used to it. You see a lot of times somebody new to something, they kind of intimidated. Somebody that's been doing it like a vet, they not. That's right. It's just what they do. You see, a new mom can be intimidating, but to Octo mom, all them kids, she not. She like, oh, I'm used to this. I got all these kids. But to a new parent, it's kind of intimidating. But new creates intimidation. But here's the thing about foreign places. It creates intimidation. But how many of us know that when God calls you, he will call you outside of your comfort zone? And outside of your comfort zone is intimidating. Outside of your comfort zone is foreign. It's strange. You're not really used to it yet. And so it feels intimidating. And when you look at that word intimidate, you see a word that's in the middle of it. A word that God did not give us a spirit of. And that word is timid. In intimidation, you see the word timid, and God did not give us a spirit of timidity. And the word timid describes the state of nervousness caused by a particular person or situation. And so to be timid means to be frightened. But when I was doing more research about being timid, to be timid means to be so frightened that you pull back from something. And how many of us have pulled back from something because we were too timid? How many of us have pulled back from a blessing that God has given us because we were too timid? How many of us have not walked through a door that God opened for us because we were simply too timid? So to be timid means to pull back. To be pulled back. And how many of us have pulled back from the promises of God because we were too timid? What assignments have you pulled back because you were simply too timid? And in this text, you see a group of Israelites. You see the older generation, that first generation of Israelites, pulling back from the promised land because they were too timid. These Israelites, it was a good land. God promised them this land. It was a good land, a spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And the Bible said they cut down, when they were in the land, scouting the land, they cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes, which was so big they had to be carried by 2 men. That's how abundant that land was. You had to carry some grapes, 2 people had to carry. That's how big it was, and yet they didn't look at that. They didn't focus on that. They focused on what intimidated them. They focused on the giants because that intimidated them. But one thing I'm learning more and more about God is that God is not the best at wrapping a gift. He doesn't choose some good wrapping paper. And like Bishop said all the time, like Jesus was born in a stinky situation. I think you say that all the time. Like he was born in a manger, a stinky situation. Jesus is the ultimate gift, the ultimate promise, born in a stinky situation. So that's not a beautiful wrapping paper. And so a lot of times God's promises are wrapped up in intimidation. And if you break through that intimidation, you tear up that intimidation on the inside, it's a beautiful gift. On the inside, it's a good promise. On the inside, it's all that God has for you, but you just have to get through them layers of intimidation. The promise God has for you, it is for you, but you just got to get through that intimidation. But sometimes we look at that intimidation and we pull back. But don't be scared. Open that gift up. Get through that intimidation. See, God already gave them a heads up about what the land was like. So they already had an idea of what the land was like. In Exodus chapter 3 and 13, at the Moses' calling at the burning bush, God told him about the land. In Exodus 3 verse 8, God said, I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, to bring them up to the land, into a good, spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. But then, see, people stop right there, but if you keep reading that verse, the home of the Canaanites, the home of the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. So he's saying who was in that land. He giving them a heads up, hey, this is a good spacious land, it's flowing milk and honey, and these people are here, just to let you know. And Moses ended up telling the Israelites the same thing. In Exodus chapter 13, verse 5, when the Lord, this is Moses talking to the Israelites. When the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, he's saying all this, and he said the land he swore to our ancestors to give you, a land flowing milk and honey, you are to observe the ceremony. He is saying this is the land God has given us, and these are the people in the land. And so he already told them. So now they scouting the land that God already told them about, and they get intimidated by the people that's there, and God already told them people was going to be there. So God already told you what to expect when you walk into that land, so why are you scared? Why are you scared when God already told you the situation you're about to walk into? Don't be scared. God brought you in there for a reason. If God bringing you to that land, knowing what's in that land, that means he's already had victory for you. But you just have to break through that intimidation, because intimidation is all mental. It's all mental. That's all it is. You walk, they saw the milk and honey. If all they worried about was the milk and honey, the grapes on, they would have been cool. But they saw the giants. They saw the fortified cities, and they got scared. When God already told them what to expect when they got there. He already gave them a heads up. And sometimes I just want to thank God for giving me a heads up. Yeah. Let me know what I'm about to walk into. That's why you can't overlook, like, this is scouting season. Like, what they doing, they're scouting the land. They haven't went into the land yet to fully possess it, but right now, they checking it out. And a lot of times, like, God, let me scout it for a bit to see what it's like. And God gave them a heads up. He gave them a heads up and let them scout the land. So I thank God for that. But here's the thing. When you think about that, when you think about what happened in Exodus when God is telling them what's in the land, and then you see in Numbers what's happening, and it shows that hearing something and seeing something are two different things. Hearing about something and then actually seeing it with your own eyes is two different things. You can hear it all you want. You heard about who was in that land. Now you walk to that land, now you see it. Like, oh, okay now. I didn't think it was going to be like this. Hearing about something and seeing something are two different things. I remember my freshman year when I was when I graduated from Riverview, and my freshman year I went to UAPB. I'd never been in the country before, and I always heard about them athletes down there, like some country, like cornfield, field type. They some big dudes. I always heard about them. And then I went down there, and I'm this size. These dudes, 6'4", 300 pounds, just watch that. Oh, I can see why now. I would not want to play football with these people. I don't want to share a basketball court with these people. These people are big. But seeing it was different. Like I always heard growing up how big them dudes and them field dudes are. But actually seeing it now, that creates some intimidation. If you see, hearing it, you really you don't know what you're getting yourself into. But seeing it now, you say, okay, all right. Things hit different when you see it. Things hit different when you say, you heard that person was crazy. And then you didn't listen, you got in a relationship with them, now you're seeing that crazy. Like, now I see what y'all was talking about. We tried to tell you, man, she was crazy. But now you see it. Because when you see it, it's different. Because you can't unexpose yourself to something you've been exposed to. You can't unsee something. You walk into the land, you see giants, you can't unsee the giants. You saw them. You can't unsee the fortified cities. You saw them. And that's until it sits in your mind. And you just sitting there like, man, them some big people, some strong people, these some big cities, these some fortified walls. I don't think we can, we grasshoppers, bro. We can't do this. We can't, and we get intimidated by what we see. By what we see, because hearing something and seeing something are just two different things. Two different things. And as I mentioned earlier, I chose this New King James Version for a reason. That's because of one word, and that word was nevertheless. Nevertheless. When I came across that word, I'm like, oh, that nevertheless is what did it. Because that showed it was the opposite of what they should have been doing. Nevertheless, so it said in verse 27, then they told him, we went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. See, the word nevertheless simply means despite all of that. Despite all of that, despite all the good things that you see, you bringing up what's intimidating you. Despite all that the promises that God has for you and told that he has for you and shows you, you still looking at what's intimidating you. God showed them the fruit of the land. The spies have it. They have proof. Despite all that proof, that this land was good for them, despite all that proof that they should have conquered the land, they shouldn't be scared of this land that they're about to possess, they still brought up how strong the giants were. They still brought up the giants. They still brought up the fortified walls. They still brought up what was scaring them. They have proof in front of them. Despite all of this, the people in the land are strong. How many of us have done that? When we receive something from God, when God showed us something, and we say, look, despite all what you're saying, God, I'm still not the one. Yeah. Despite all that, I'm still not enough. Despite all that, I don't think I'm worth this. How many of us have felt that way? Yeah. How many of us have said, despite all that, God, this isn't me? Look at Moses. Moses like, this wasn't me when he was called. It's plenty of times in the Bible where God is calling someone and they like, I hear what you're saying, but nah, I don't know. It's a no for me, dog. Because they could have easily, because what should have came after nevertheless was nothing. God, I walk into this land is good. I love this land, is dope. It got all these big grapes. This is what I'm talking about, God, so I don't got nothing else to say. But how many of us still have some questions and concerns that, God, look, I hear you, but can I be honest with you? Can I be honest? I'm scared. Can I be honest with you? I see a lot of opposition out there, and I don't think I can handle what I'm seeing. I see what you're saying, God, but I don't think I can deal with the opposition that I see, the giants that I see, the fortified walls. There's going to be too much resistance coming my way, so I don't know. And a lot of us can get so scared because of that. How many of us have done that? If on the chat, just be honest, how many of you have done that watching online? You basically pull back from God is calling you to do because you're scared. Pulling back what God is calling you to do because you're intimidated. Pulling back from God's calling you to do because you simply do not know if you have the strength to defeat the giants in your way. And those are what we call limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. People walk around with limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are basically beliefs we have about ourselves that stop us from being all that we can be. So in a nutshell, limiting beliefs are lies. Lies that you believe about yourself that prevent you from going all in. Lies that you believe about yourself. I'm too shy for this. That's a lie. That's a limiting belief. Because you believe you so shy, God can't use you to do what I'm doing right now. That's a limiting belief. Thinking you're not worthy, you're not good enough, that's a limiting belief. So limiting beliefs are basically lies that the enemy tells us so that it can affect our effectiveness. You see how it all ties to our effectiveness? Because we are called to be effective with our gifts, effective in our assignment. Because when you're effective, you're successful. And God wants you to be successful in your assignment. He wants you to complete his work, not leave it unfinished. See, in the world of sports, losing is one thing, quitting is another. Like losing meant, look, I tried, I came up short. Like Michael Jordan said, we just ran out of time. We didn't lose, we just ran out of time. Quitting means you just stop. You just say, I'm done. I'm wipe my hands. I'm going to leave this game unfinished. And how many of you growing up when you was kids, when you was playing video games, you got so mad you just unplugged the game? Turn the game system off. You just quit. And so so it all ties to our effectiveness because we want to be successful in what God has called us to do. We want to walk through doors that God has for us. We don't want to be timid in what God is calling us to do. We don't want to be scared about what God is calling us to do. We don't want to be timid. What we need to be is bold. Someone say bold. 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 You see it in Deuteronomy 31 when Joshua was assuming leadership from Moses. Be strong and courageous. Be strong. And so in times and when you're coming across intimidation, when a situation is intimidating you, be strong. When a situation is intimidating you, be courageous. Moses is saying in Deuteronomy chapter 31, in verse 7, Moses called for Joshua. And as all of Israel watched, he said to him, be strong and courageous, for you will lead these people into the land that the Lord swore to their ancestors, and he will give them. You are the one who will divide among them as their grants of land. And in verse 8, he said, do not be afraid or discouraged. And this is the part that got me. And this is the part that we need to meditate on when we come across an intimidating situation. He said, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will never fail you nor abandon you. The Lord will personally go ahead of you. So that means if he brings you to a situation that seems intimidating, he already went there before you. He's already in that situation before you, so he already in it with you. So you the one that just got there. He been there already. He been there already. You walked into the land like these some big people. God, like, look, I already took care of this. You just needed to show up and believe. You just need to show up and not be scared. You just need to show up and be strong and be courageous and know that I already got you. I won't never leave you nor forsake you. And we just need to give God praise for never leaving us nor forsaking us. It's multiple times he told Joshua, be strong and courageous. Do not be discouraged. Be strong and courageous. Walking into that land with the fortified cities, the fortified walls. Be strong and just believe. Yes. Be strong and don't be discouraged because, like I said, discouragement is going to affect your effectiveness. Yes. So you can't be an effective leader if you're discouraged. And the fact that God already has went before you should give you a spirit of boldness, knowing that what God has for me, it is for me. I'm good. I just got to show up and believe. I just got to show up and be ready to fight. I just got to see, timid people lack boldness. And to be bold means to be confident and courageous. But see, in our Christian walk, God has called us many instances to be bold. Be bold. But culture has pretty much alter the way boldness is looked at. Because in culture's definition, to be bold means to be arrogant, to be dominating, to be harsh. But biblically, being bold is about having strong convictions about the truths of the gospel, but expressing it in with gentleness and humility. So having conviction about the truth. And God's word is true. So being bold simply means God did not, in this text, that God already went before you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So that's being bold, knowing that God didn't bring me this far to leave me. God didn't bring me this far to forsake me. God didn't bring me this far to abandon. That's a spirit of boldness. So when you come across intimidating situations, be bold. Don't be scared. Be bold. Knowing that if God brought you to it, He will see you through it. Be bold. Be bold. Everybody's situation is different. What intimidates one person doesn't intimidate another person. But one thing about intimidating situation, it will affect your effectiveness if you give in to it. If you let that fear control you, it will ultimately treat you like a puppet. Yes. And next thing you know, you are not as effective as you could be. You are not completing the work that God has called you to complete, and you are pulling back from promises that God has for you. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to pull back. I want to go all in. Someone say all in. I want to go. How many of you just want to go all in on the promises of God? So as I close, I just want to remind y'all that don't be scared. Go all in. That's right. Go all in. Just put all the chips in. Just do it. Just go all in. Just go all in. Take a gamble with God. Take a gamble with God. Go all in. Switch your focus. Focus on the fruit. Focus on a promise. That's what happened. They went there and they focused on the giants. They focused on the fortified cities, They didn't focus on the fruit. The fruit was just proof. It was the proof that you all need. They didn't focus on the fruit. And it's important to focus on the promise and focus on what could happen if you overcome this intimidation. What could happen? Your purpose, your assignment is begging you to overcome that intimidation. If I never would have overcame my fear of speaking, who would have known what would have happened? Not this, most likely. So you never know what assignment you are not going all in on because you're pulling back and you're so focused on the intimidation. Your assignment is so overcoming the intimidation of public speaking was necessary for me for my assignment. Now, I don't know if I'm going to overcome big bodies of water because that's not my assignment. I'm not called to be a surfer. But if I was, I'd have to overcome my fear of some water and sharks and stuff. But that's not me. Now, I pray God will have that assignment for me in the future. You know what I'm saying? Look at him, that Pastor Nick snorkeling. I'm just in the room. Like, he's going to have to get some insurance or something. We got to be careful. But go all in. Go all in. Don't be scared. Don't be scared about what God has for you. Don't be scared about intimidation.